So I think I'm going to stand right here. Is that okay? So my name is Lorenzo. I was born in foster care. I spent my whole school life living in foster care. At the age of 10, I went to a primary school called Heatherdale Primary. And my first job as a 10-year-old was to sweep that school every day. And I became the best school caretaker in primary school. It's a job I loved. Eventually, after a year of sweeping school from standard 3 onwards, right up until standard 5, grade 7, my job paid me some money. They paid me 2 rand a month. And I thought, oh my goodness, I am wealthy. There were no increases over the 3 years. There were no bonuses. But I did get to pick up pens, store them in my bag, and sell them to kids who needed them. And I loved sweeping the school. Today I'm the CEO of a multi-city NGO called Community Chest. Today we provide and that's my lovely wife seated right there, Alicia. And today we provide, through the work we do, over 22 million rands worth of funding to NGOs countrywide. My passion is to tell you this morning that we can change this country. 5 years ago, I asked the question to myself and my colleagues, how do we fix this country? We sat down with men like Dennis Goldberg, Adam Abib, Judith February, and others, and we began to listen to them talk to us about how do we fix this country? How do we make it work? How do we build a country that we one day will call the greatest country on earth? Not with rampant nationalism, but with a sense of deep justice, a sense of great prosperity and absolute peace for every child who lives in this space. That's the country I'm working on to build along with my colleagues. I believe that fundamentally we begin with one simple thing that happened to me when I was 10 years old, when the school principal trusted me with a broom and said I could sweep 19 classrooms and 4 offices and do a good job of it. You see, it begins when we begin to value people. You all heard the starfish story, didn't you? The starfish story goes like this. There's a father and dad walking along the beach. They have a wonderful outing, and they see thousands of starfish lying on the side of the beach. You know the story, right? And they walk along, and the dad picks up one and throws it back, and the dad picks up one and throws it back, and the son says, Dad, it's making no difference. And the dad says, he picks up one again, and what's the famous line? It's making a difference to this one. Now, at that point, a lot of people go, oh, that sounds so great. Now, here's the story. The starfish story is a horrible story. And you know why it's horrible? Because if you were to look at that scene from the view of the starfish, you would go, these people are nuts. There should be many more helping us. But because we're not starfish, we think we're doing a good job. And that's the problem with development in South Africa today. We see it through our vantage points, and not through the vantage points of those we are trying to help. Those who help have no say in what we are doing to build a better country. They are the essential starfish, the lucky ones who get picked up. And we write these amazing newsletters about 1 or 2 that we're helping, and there are thousands others. And so, I think one of the big problems we have in this country is that we've forgotten to celebrate the ordinary. How great is a postman? Can you see? That's our problem. You don't go, wow. How great is a garbage man or a municipal worker? We've forgotten to recognize the people who truly, truly hold us together. How great is a nurse? How great is a car guard? And by the way, car guard tips have gone up. It's now 10 rand, please. You would pay that in Sandton Center, but you wouldn't give it to a car guard. That's wrong. And so the whole narrative is complicated and complex. Because we ourselves have continued to be the dad and son model that walk along the beach. We haven't become the starfish ourselves that truly say, how do we change this drastic scenario that we are faced with? I'm tired of poverty reduction we have to eliminate it. Our country has the power to eliminate poverty. And collectively, we can do that. I often ask people, what does a poverty-reduced person look like? Oh, you look like a poverty-reduced person. No, there is no such a thing. Our true mandate and mission is to eliminate it so that people can afford the schooling, can afford the education, can afford the meals, can afford the transport. That's what we must build, not sort of a World Bank $2 a day scenario and hope that everybody's going to be fine. We have to eliminate poverty. And part of our mission at Community Chest is to do exactly that. We will not stop until we know that it's possible for people to afford a meal, to afford education, to afford health care, to afford transport. Anything less than that drags us back into that horrible dad and son starfish world. Do you know that in the US, every graduate in his lifetime adds over $200,000 to the US GDP? We have to grow our education processes as the arrowhead of our change. That unless kids get educated, they get into school, they stay in school, and they finish school, nothing will build our country better than that. We know that education is a contributor to GDP, and when GDP grows, countries become more successful. And yet we shortchange ourselves all the time. Our kids must get into school, stay in school, and finish school. And we as a country must do everything in our power to ensure that that becomes possible. I think NGOs face a huge crisis right now. A month ago, the NPO register ticked over that we are now 200,000 NGOs in this country. Can you believe that? There are now 200,000 NGOs registered on the NPO database in this country. And I think we have to ask ourselves serious questions about that. How valid is that change? I ask myself 3 questions, which I ask in the organization I work for, which I ask as part of our strategy, and these are the 3 questions I ask. And I filter everything through these 3 questions. The first question is, what do you know? If we're going to change this country, what do you know? And that speaks to intelligence. It's important that we understand the message. What is the intelligence that backs up what we do? Second question I ask is, why does it matter? And that relates to data. What data informs what you know? And the third question I ask is, what are you solving? And that is the impact question. Intelligence, data, and impact. What do you know? Why does it matter? And what are you solving? And fundamentally, everything goes through that filter. So here's this. As funders, and we are now in the role as a funder, we keep looking for things that are no longer just interventions, but solutions. We want to solve the problems of our children. So if you could fund an NGO at 10,000 Rand for the next 50 years, but you would know, and they were doing interventions, but you do know that if we were to give 1 million Rand, we could actually solve that problem here and now. What would be better? The 1 million Rand, isn't it? And part of our complexity is that we keep dishing out 10,000 Rand solutions. And we don't know it's going to cost us 1 million Rand. Or we're dishing out 10,000 Rand interventions and not designing 1 million Rand solutions. And we could solve that problem. We could fix it forever. What we need is a big plan. And yes, we do have a big plan. And here's the big plan. The NDP, the SDGs are our big plans. It's our guide. But fundamentally, what it doesn't have are the smart solutions. Where are the smart solutions? Where are the people who say, hold on, in education, we should be doing this. In health, we should be doing this. In job creation, we should be doing this. In community development, we should be doing this. Who are the guys out there, here in the audience, who have designed smart solutions for our country's big plans? And that's what NGOs must focus on and do, is to design and think about those smart solutions. And they are there. I was in Soweto last week and saw the most amazing stuff that young people are doing. And engaging with them over 2-3 days and listening to those voices. And I know that it is possible to stop this poverty train. and fix this country. I swept 19 classrooms for 3 years by myself. I was 10, 11, and 12. And in 12 years, in 3 years, I never had a complaint that the classrooms were not clean. We can do anything we want to do. We must realize and accept that building a very fragmented and divided country is hard work. It will test our resolve. It will test our patience. It will test our commitment. It will test us on every level. And some days you are going to cave in. And some days you're going to say, what the heck, why do we do this? But here's the thing. Every time you cave in, fall down, become angry, lose the plot, lose focus, feel like it's not worth it, I hope you pick yourself up and you get up again. Because this country has the potential to be one of the great countries on earth. And that you will pick yourself up and you will do what we do every day. When we arrive at the office, I tell the staff, before you start your day, go walk the streets of the city. Go breathe it in. Find again your missional focus. Talk to people. I'm a public transport user by design. I use trains and taxis. It's my best education every day. I listen to people. I write stories about it. I take the train. I take the taxi. If I have to go to a meeting, if I can walk, I walk. Because we must build a new narrative in this country. A narrative that is very different from what we are all used to. It's within our realm to pick ourselves up and start again. You know what? Great countries have great forgivers. Germany, Japan, South Korea, Vietnam, all those countries that were destroyed by war, France, all of them that were destroyed by war, today have Gini coefficients that are far better than the countries that attacked them. They built themselves up on the basis that their leadership decided forgiveness was a greater asset than vengeance. Today, Vietnam is a prosperous country. Germany, Japan, South Korea, Seoul built itself up. In a space of 25 years, the country transformed itself. It is possible. Michael D. Higgins, the Irish president, in his inauguration in 2011 said these words: our obligation is to be a better version of ourselves. Our only obligation is to be a better version of ourselves. One day when I'm old, like I am now, but I have a walking stick, and I do street races with my fellow old people, and I walk Vilakazi, or I walk Harrington Street, or I walk District 6, or I walk Alexandria, or I walk the streets of this country. I want to hear people talk about how we built the greatest country on earth. I want our children to talk, to learn the stories of how this country used its collective power to build the greatest country on earth. Because we were wise, we used intelligence, we used forgiveness, we used a resoluteness that was very different from everybody else. And so, I close with these words. Mango Groove wrote this amazing song called Another Day, Another Place, Another Time. And these are the words from it. There's a place for anger, things we won't forgive. And I know it's not enough to face your shame with words you'll never live. But let's begin to look within to where the future lies and find the strength to live beneath another country's skies. Another time, another place, another country, another state of grace. You'll walk beside me, I'll tell you no lies. And you'll begin to see another country in my eyes. It is possible. Thank you very much.